Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. This update is very much a clean up the foundations kind of patch. And honestly, those are usually the ones that end up mattering the most over time. It's not trying to reinvent the game or shake up the meta in dramatic ways, but instead it goes after stability, consistency, and a whole bunch of edge cases that have been quietly causing frustration for a lot of players. First off, stability is clearly the big focus here. A number of crashes have been addressed, including some really nasty ones tied to character portraits and DNA generation. If you've ever had the game randomly drop you back to the dashboard while loading a character or opening certain menus, this patch is very clearly aimed at that. There were also crashes linked to the situation window and some UI interactions that could happen mid-campaign, which are now fixed. These aren't flashy changes, but they directly affect whether you can actually play a multi-century save without holding your breath every autosave. Government and faction behavior also got some much-needed attention. Liberty factions in particular were acting strangely under administrative governments. In some cases, they weren't forming correctly, and in others, they were triggering wars or law reductions in ways that didn't make sense. This update tightens that logic so factions now behave more predictably and in line with their intended rules. It also fixes situations where administrative rulers could lose authority in ways that didn't properly reflect the faction outcome, which should make internal politics feel more consistent and less arbitrary. One of the more interesting fixes involves Japan and government transitions. Previously, there was a bug where independent Japanese rulers converting from tribal to feudal could accidentally end up with an administrative government instead. That might sound niche, but for players doing region-specific or roleplay-heavy runs, it could completely derail the identity of a realm. That issue has now been corrected, so those conversions behave the way they're supposed to, keeping cultural and regional progression intact. Buildings and economy also saw a wave of smaller but meaningful fixes. Some building types simply weren't behaving correctly, either failing to construct when they should or not applying their bonuses. Farm estates, watermills, and certain culture-linked buildings were among the offenders. Traditions like pastoralists and city keepers weren't always interacting properly with holdings, which could subtly weaken an entire playstyle over the course of a campaign. These are the kinds of bugs that don't jump out immediately but quietly skew balance, and it's good to see them getting resolved. There were also some odd but memorable gameplay bugs that finally got dealt with. Chariots getting permanently stuck in muddy terrain is one of those things that sounds funny until it happens in a serious war and completely breaks immersion. That's now fixed. Certain decisions had incorrect or incomplete requirements, including the Found the Empire of Brunei decision, which could block progress even when you were doing everything right. Some great project options weren't paying out gold properly, which meant you could invest heavily and get nothing in return. Those treasury-related issues have now been corrected, which makes large-scale investments feel worthwhile again. Council and administrative rules also received polish. Ministers withdrawing from governorships could leave realms in awkward states, and that behavior has been adjusted to prevent weird power vacuums. Grand campaign completion issues were fixed as well, which matters a lot for players who like to see a campaign through from start to finish, instead of abandoning it halfway due to a bugged endpoint. Alongside all the technical fixes, the update also includes 2 creator packs that focus purely on visual flavor, and honestly, they add a surprising amount of atmosphere. The High Medieval Warfare attire pack expands the range of armor and helmets significantly. We're talking surcoats, gambesons, coats of plate, and a wide selection of helmets that are regionally themed for places like France, England, and the German lands. There are also some special pieces, including religious-inspired designs, which really help characters feel grounded in their cultural and historical context instead of looking like palette swaps of one another. The Holy Buildings pack does something similar for the map itself. New models have been added for mosques, Orthodox churches, Tibetan stupas, and Catholic churches, including a large grand cathedral style. Several famous historical religious sites now have unique visuals as well, which makes zooming into the map feel more rewarding. It's one of those things that doesn't change gameplay mechanics at all, but it absolutely changes how alive the world feels when you're ruling it. Overall, this update feels like a necessary maintenance pass that shores up Crusader Kings III where it really counts. Fewer crashes, more reliable systems, cleaner government logic, and better economic consistency all mean longer, smoother campaigns. Add in the extra visual flavor from the creator packs, and it's clear this patch is about strengthening the core experience rather than distracting from it. If you've been holding off on a new long-term run because things felt a bit unstable or unpredictable, this update makes a strong case for jumping back in and letting your dynasty thrive without the game getting in the way.